ओमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। Hare Krishna. Welcome to today's episode of the Mahabharata. In the last episode, we have seen how the Pandavas, being in the forest exile, were engaged in executing various kinds of austerities. They were living in the forest, sometimes shuttling between Dvaitavana and Kamyakavana. They were living in simple thatched cottages with mud flooring. They were wearing dresses made out of tree bark, and they were constantly engaged in conducting yajna, sacrifices to please Lord Vishnu. And having obtained from the sun god Suryadeva a magical pot which could produce unlimited amount of food for feeding the guests, with that Draupadi would every day cook and feed large number of saintly people who would come and attend the yajnas conducted by Yudhishthira Maharaj. In this way, the Pandavas were going on accumulating pious credits. On the other hand, Duryodhana was merely enjoying all the royal opulence, and he was not engaged in conducting any fire sacrifice or yajnas. He was simply enjoying the power and opulence of the royal household, and thus he was using up all his previous pious credits. Two contrasting things we were able to see. And when the Pandavas entered the 12th year of their forest exile, Duryodhana, based on the instigation by Karna, decided to go to Dvaitavana to show off his opulence, how much wealth he had acquired, and with all the women folk, with all the resources, with some small army with him, he wanted to go there and show off to the Pandavas, look how I am enjoying life and how you people are suffering. During these 12 years, Duryodhana had spent time not only in increasing the strength of his army, but also in striking up alliances with various friendly kings. And he was like this building up his army power, so that he knew sooner or later when the Pandavas would come to seek their kingdom back, he could very easily rebuff them on the strength of his alliances and his personal military strength. Now, when Duryodhana heard this proposal from Karna that it is good to go and show off to the Pandavas and rub salt on their wounds, it appealed very much to Duryodhana, because we all have seen how Duryodhana is very envious by nature, and he liked to insult the Pandavas, although there was no fault on their side. Now, for Duryodhana to go to Dvaitavana, an excuse was needed. So, he went to his father Dhritarashtra and he told him that the time has come to take count of all the cows and inspect them for their health and well-being, whether the caretakers are taking good care of them or not. So, I am planning to go with a small retinue, with a small portion segment of my army I want to take, and all the women folk and my wife and all those people I want to take them and go to the place where the cows are currently, which happens to be Dvaitavana. Dhritarashtra, when he heard this, immediately he said, why are you going to Dvaitavana? The Pandavas are already there. If you go there and by chance both of you come to meet each other, I don't want another fight between the two of you. So why you have to go? send some important minister or general or somebody like that. Why do you have to personally go? But then Duryodhana was adamant. He wanted to go himself, although he could not openly express it to Dhritarashtra. Then Shakuni also supported Duryodhana and told Dhritarashtra, why we will go to the Pandavas? They are already in forest exile. They are practically nobody now. Why will we go to them? Forget it. We are going for our other purpose. We will keep away from them. So Dhritarashtra finally relented and he said, okay, if you want to go, we are very insistent, you go, but don't trouble the Pandavas. That was Dhritarashtra's viewpoint. Now, having got Dhritarashtra's permission, Duryodhana took off with his small army, few horses, few foot soldiers, and some chariots, like that. Few means a few thousands, not that small also. And then Duryodhana was accompanied by Karna, Shakuni, and Dushasana and his other brothers, who all wanted to see the fun, how the Pandavas are going to be, they are going to be insulted and they are going to be humiliated. That was they wanted to join in the fun. So they all accompanied Duryodhana. Duryodhana with this retinue, he reached Dvaitavana, and which is said to be modern day Devband in Uttar Pradesh. And having reached there, he inspected all the cows, took count of them, asked about the health. He looked up the health records of all the cows, and having considered all these things, having finished all his duties, then he sent some people to figure out in the Dvaitavana where the Pandavas are. And he told his people, go and set up camp close to where they are in such a way that they can see us, and we'll have some revelry and some celebration, and we'll have some dancing, music and all those kind of things, and that will rub the Pandavas this one ego. That was Duryodhana's this one. So the few people, few soldiers from his army, they went seeking out a place where they could set camp, and also in such a way that it would be visible for the Pandavas. The Pandavas at that moment, Yudhishthira Maharaj was engaged in a fire sacrifice, a yajna was going on, and he was along with a few other rishis and sages and brahmanas who were conducting the fire sacrifice. He was involved in that. The Pandavas, of course, were totally unaware of Duryodhana's impending visit. Now, when this small group of army was going forward, they came across the place near a lake, on the bank of the lake, where the Pandavas were being seated. So they thought of setting camp there. Now, in the meantime, unknown to both the Pandavas and to Duryodhana, what had happened? Some Gandharvas had come there to that forest. Now, these Gandharvas are celestial beings. They are not limited in their travel like we are. If we have to go to some planet, some other planet outside the Earth planet, let us say we want to go to the moon or the Mars or something like that, there are so many restrictions. It's not easy to go there for human beings. But the Gandharvas are not, because they are from the upper planets, they are not limited in their travel like that. They can very easily travel to whichever planet they want, and if they so choose, they can remain hidden to the view of the human beings. Or if they want, they can reveal themselves also. So in this case, the Gandharvas, they stopped the team which Duryodhana had sent forth, and they told them, you cannot come to this part of the forest. This belongs to us, so you please go back. So these small team members, because Gandharvas, they are celestial beings, they went back to Duryodhana and conveyed to him that like this we were stopped by the Gandharvas and they refused to allow us to set camp there. Now Duryodhana, being the kind of arrogant person he is, he said, what Gandharvas? This is my kingdom. I will do whatever I want here. I will not listen to any Gandharvas and all that. Then he called all his small army together and he went and he attacked the Gandharvas. Now the Gandharvas were very well prepared for this attack from Duryodhana, because they had come specifically there for that purpose to engage in a battle with Duryodhana. Now why would they come there to engage in a battle with Duryodhana? Why did the Gandharvas have to come down from the celestial planets? Actually, what had happened was, when Duryodhana had made his plans to go to Dvaitavana and to humiliate the Pandavas, the news reached Indra. And Indra was always very favorable to the Pandavas, especially to Arjuna, because Arjuna was born to Kunti Devi from the blessings of Indra Deva. So in one sense, Indra was the father of Arjuna. So he did not like this activity from this act of Duryodhana's, where he wanted to humiliate the Pandavas. Therefore, Indra called the Gandharvas and told them, see, like this, Duryodhana is going to Dvaitavana with an evil intention, you go and take care of him. So the Gandharvas came and they stopped Duryodhana, and they very well knew that this Duryodhana will try to come and attack them, so they had come equipped with their weapons. Now a fierce battle started between the small army of Duryodhana along with Karna, Shakuni, Dushasana and others, and on the other side a small group of the Gandharvas. Now, although Karna was a powerful archer, Duryodhana himself was a great warrior. Despite all this, the Gandharvas, being celestial beings, gradually they drove back Duryodhana's army. Finally, what happened? Shakuni ran away from the battlefield when he saw that his life was in danger. So also, when Karna saw that his arrows were failing and he too was in a very precarious condition, he, along with Dushasana and the other brothers of Duryodhana, they all ran away from the battlefield. Actually, a Kshatriya is never supposed to show his back in a battle. A Kshatriya is supposed to fight till the death. But this cowardly act from the side of Karna and the Dushasana and others was not surprising, because they were used to very boastful and ostentatious claims, although they did not have the real powers like the Pandavas. That is why they were always envious of the Pandavas, because the Pandavas actually, even though they were very humble and very nice people, the Kauravas, Karna and Duryodhana and others knew that the Pandavas were always far more powerful than them and far more opulent than them. That was why Duryodhana and Karna and others were always envious of the Pandavas. Be that as it may, the whole Kaurava army was defeated, it was routed, practically almost all their army was destroyed, and Karna, Dushasana and others, Shakuni and others ran away from the battlefield in a cowardly manner. Now Duryodhana stood fighting there, and finally Duryodhana was captured by the Gandharvas. So whatever little bit of Duryodhana's army was left, they ran away. The moment Duryodhana was captured, their morale was broken and they ran away from there. But still they were lamenting that our master has been captured, now what to do? So they consulted amongst themselves and they thought it wise to approach the Pandavas and seek their help, because they were close at hand. To go back to Hastinapura and to call Bhishma Dev and bring him back, and Dronacharya and others, was practically next to impossible. Something had to be done right there, right then. So this remaining small group of people, the soldiers, went and approached Yudhishthira Maharaj, who was in the midst of performing the yajna, and they narrated the whole thing before him. Of course, this group of soldiers, they did not know Duryodhana's evil intention, his malified intention in coming there to actually humiliate the Pandavas. They were thinking he came here to count the cows and all those kind of things, and after finishing all that, he wanted to just set camp there, relax a little bit and go back to Hastinapura. That was their understanding. The moment Pandavas heard that Duryodhana had come there and he had been captured by the Gandharvas, they immediately understood what was the background of this whole incident. And the moment they heard that Duryodhana had been captured, Bhima uttered these words. Bhima said, Mahatahi prayatnena hastyashva rathapattibihi asmabhir yad anushteyam gandharvais tad anushtitam. Bhima said, we would have had to undergo great effort and endeavor with a great assembly of horses and elephants and and chariots and soldiers in order to defeat Duryodhana and capture him. What we could have achieved with great endeavor, the Gandharvas have achieved it very easily. So Bhima was appreciating the Gandharvas, that what we would have taken great endeavor to do, that the Gandharvas have done very good. We are saved of that great endeavor. I am so relieved. So this was Bhimasena's response. But then Yudhishthira Maharaj immediately he stopped Bhimasena and told him, no, we should not talk like this. Right now these people have come and surrendered to us. They have taken our shelter. And as Kshatriyas, it is our duty to protect anyone who comes and takes shelter of us. Not only that, Yudhishthira Maharaj told Bhimasena, we may have some internal quarrel with Duryodhana. That is our family quarrel. Now, as far as we are concerned, within the family, they may be 100 brothers and we may be 5 brothers. But if there is an external person coming to attack us, then we will be 105 brothers. We will not allow an external person to come and sully the reputation of the Kaurava dynasty. If the Gandharvas have captured Duryodhana, it is a great dishonor for us. We must get him released. So Yudhishthira Maharaj ordered Arjuna and Bhimasena that you both must go and get Duryodhana released, because Yudhishthira Maharaj was engaged in that yajna. He could not get up and go himself, otherwise he himself would have gone also. So when Yudhishthira spoke like this, Bhimasena and Arjuna immediately they took the words of Yudhishthira as his command, and they immediately boarded the chariots which had been brought by the small Kaurava army, and they took their weapons, whatever bow and arrow they had, and they went and approached the Gandharvas. When they came to the Gandharvas, Bhimasena and Arjuna asked the Gandharvas, you have captured our brother Duryodhana. We have come here to secure his release. The Gandharvas refused to release him. They said, we are not going to release him. Then Arjuna and Bhimasena said, then you have to fight with us. So immediately the Gandharvas also took their weapons. Arjuna and Bhimasena on this side, and again began a real mega fight between the two of them. The celestial Gandharvas on one side, and on this side Arjuna and Bhima. In the first case, what had happened? The Gandharvas had very easily defeated Duryodhana and pushed him back. Duryodhana, Karna, Dushasana, all his 100 brothers, they were all defeated. And here there were only 2 brothers. And these 2 brothers, especially Arjuna, used such skillful archery, and he made use of all the celestial astras and weapons he had received during his visits to Indraloka and other places. Very soon, the Gandharvas found that the table was reversed. They were now getting beaten back. They were getting defeated. When the Gandharvas saw that they were soon going to get defeated, they stopped the battle and declared a truce. And then the leader of the Gandharvas came in front of Arjuna and he revealed himself. And Arjuna also recognized him. Oh, I had met you when I had come to Indraloka. So this Gandharva also said, yes. Actually, I came here because this Duryodhana had come here to humiliate all of you Pandavas. And when Indra heard this, he sent me to capture Duryodhana. So I want to take him with me and hand him over to Indra as a prisoner of war. Now Arjuna told him, see, I am very happy. I understand that you have come for our welfare, but it is against the reputation of our family that you take Duryodhana as a prisoner. So I am requesting you to release him. So the Gandharva said, why are you asking for his release? He did not come here to do any good for you. He has cheated you of your kingdom, and he to rub salt on your wounds he has come here. After all that, you want to get him released. Arjuna said, no, this is the order of Yudhishthira Maharaj, so we have to follow that. So the Gandharva said, okay, let us go to Yudhishthira and let us, he may not be aware of the actual situation why Duryodhana came here. Let us put this matter before him. If Yudhishthira Maharaj says, no, you take him as a prisoner to Indra because of his malified intention, we will take him. Or on the other hand, if Yudhishthira Maharaj says you release him, we will release him. Because we have great respect for Yudhishthira Maharaj. He is such a great upholder of Dharma, we will not refuse his words. So the Pandavas, so the Arjuna and Bhimasena took the Gandharvas to Yudhishthira Maharaj, introduced them, and then the Gandharva leader informed Yudhishthira Maharaj of the malified intention of Duryodhana in coming there to actually humiliate the Pandavas. So then finally the Gandharva said, Indra himself sent us here to prevent such a humiliation of you Pandavas at the hands of Duryodhana. So now we have captured him, we want to take him as a prisoner to Swarga. So Yudhishthira Maharaj said, no, I understand what you have done, that you have done us a favor by preventing Duryodhana from his evil deed, but at the same time, Duryodhana is still part of our Kaurava clan, and if you capture him and take him like this, it will be a great humiliation for our dynasty. Not only that, his people have come and taken shelter of us, so as Kshatriyas, it is our duty to provide shelter to them and to rescue Duryodhana. We cannot refuse our shelter to people who have come and surrendered to us. So I request you to please release Duryodhana. So then the Gandharva, smilingly, he praised Yudhishthira Maharaj for his great virtuous qualities, and he released Duryodhana, and very amicably the Gandharvas parted with the Pandavas and went back to their planet. Now Yudhishthira Maharaj, he spoke to Duryodhana, pacified him with some good words, and then he told Duryodhana, please don't do such kinds of bad things, wrong things. Please don't try to engage in evil acts like this, which are actually sinful and which will anyway bring you disrepute. Why do you want to do these kind of things? So you please go home and take care of the kingdom. We are not interfering in all that. You go and take care. Like that, Yudhishthira Maharaj released Duryodhana. Now Duryodhana went back to his camp with a heavy heart. What he had set out to achieve, he had achieved exactly the opposite. He had set out to humiliate the Pandavas. On the other hand, he got humiliated by the Pandavas, and the Pandavas had to come to rescue him. All his army, his power, his brothers, Karna, Shakuni, none of them could come to his help. The Pandavas had to come and help him and rescue him. What greater humiliation can there be than this? So Duryodhana was very despondent and came back to his camp. By then, those people who had run away, Karna, Shakuni, Dushasana and the others, they came back to the camp and they saw, oh, Duryodhana has come back. They were all very relieved. They were thinking, we all somehow ran away from the battlefield, but Duryodhana kept on fighting. We don't know what would have happened to him. Maybe the Gandharvas had killed him. They were thinking like that. But when they saw that Duryodhana escaped, they were very happy. But then they were seeing Duryodhana is very despondent. Then Duryodhana informed them, like this, the Gandharvas had captured him, and it was the Pandavas who released him. And so Duryodhana was so frustrated, he was saying that I want to commit suicide, I don't want to live anymore. So when Dushasana and others heard this, they were alarmed. Duryodhana is going to commit suicide, then what will happen to all of us? The kingdom will go to the Pandavas and we will all be thrown out. So they all started speaking to Duryodhana and trying to pacify him, trying to calm him down. Even Karna sat with him and said, no, why are Duryodhana, why are you so despondent? When you in a Kshatriya's life, when he fights many battles, some battles he will win, some battles he will lose. So what is the big thing in this? Don't take this so much to heart. You take it in your stride. And these are things which we should face in life, like that. And Shakuni also, Dushasana also, they all tried to motivate him and bring him back to his normal self. After much persuasion, finally Duryodhana relented from his decision to commit suicide. And gradually, with a heavy heart, they all came back to Hastinapura. Now, Duryodhana, although initially he was very much afflicted by this humiliation at the hands of the Pandavas, gradually after a little while, he forgot the incident and came back to his normal self. And being the arrogant person he was, he again started plotting how to humiliate the Pandavas. So it so happened that one great sage happened to come to Hastinapura. And when Duryodhana heard that about this sage's arrival in Hastinapura, immediately a plan started hatching in his mind.
So what was the plan that Duryodhana had newly thought up of, and who was the sage, and what was the role he was going to play in Duryodhana's new plot? Please join us in the next episode of the Mahabharata to learn about this. Thank you for joining us today. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.